I am not creative. I'm not creative, yeah. This is a statement I've heard across the board in the corridors of corporates, in colleges, in schools, out on the streets. You have people saying this. This is a sentence I've heard from corporate leaders like CEOs to managers to students and in fact even teachers. This is something that we have to introspect on because there is a creative streak in all of us. As kids, we had that creative streak that was coming out so much more in the open, and as we grew up in the chronological passage of time, we covered ourselves with layers and layers of logic that our creativity just got blanketed over and we became very logical human beings. Now, little ideas, when I mean little ideas, I would like to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. If you can see the visual out there, you see a DVD or a CD that is stuck to the cycle. Now, somebody wanted a reflector on his cycle because at night I'm riding the cycle down the road and the guy behind me doesn't see me. So that is why I need a reflector, and at that point in time I do not have a reflector, and I hit upon the idea of bringing a CD out there, and when I put the CD at the back of my cycle, I know that the CD will reflect the light and people coming behind me can see me. And this is a simple idea, a simple thought. I mean, you wouldn't imagine relating a cycle and a CD, right? You know, I'm talking about those little kind of thoughts. Now, as kids, like I said, we had the creative juices within us. Now it's time to get it flowing again. That, I think, would be the first step. Like I said, it is not about earth-moving ideas where we hold the planet up and try to change the whole system. No, I'm talking about little ideas with simple thoughts that can make a little difference in our minds to begin with. You know, you feel happy basically. You feel happy with a little thought that comes into your head, which you pulled from the back of your mind, from your memories. It's as simple as that. That is what we have to do to begin with before we move on to grandiose ideas like, you know, solving complex problems and all that. Now, I would like to draw a parallel on how to create ideas. It's almost like learning to ride the bicycle. As a kid, my dad placed the cycle in front of me. I look at it. The cycle looks like a giant to me. I mean, we were living in a place where we didn't have kid cycles. It was just a big cycle. And as a kid, I see a giant in front of me and I have to conquer it. I will have to get on it, get on its saddle and ride it. And we were living in a place which didn't have smooth roads, but it had these mountainous tracks. So it was all the more scary. Going uphill was a huff and puff task, and going downhill was really scary. I mean, will the brakes fail? Will it hold? And I will have to balance the cycle. So, I mean, I still have scars to prove my adventures, but little by little the challenge took over my mind and I wanted to conquer that beast. And day in and day out, I struggled, I fell, I rose again, I fell, I rose again. But in the end, it was the practice. It was the practice that really made me conquer bicycle riding. And as I practiced and practiced and practiced, I finally ensured that I could literally ride like a breeze. I could leave my hands open and freely ride into the breeze, and I could be confident that I could go down slopes, and I will have, of course, I wouldn't have had that much of strength, but still, struggle my way up, but I could ride the cycle. I could balance those two wheels, and I had finally conquered it. I mean, it is the practice that matters, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that's the same thing that goes with creativity too. Practice, practice. But what is it that we have to practice? To begin with, bring back the curiosity that was within you as a child. Bring it all back. You remember, as a child, you literally were questioning everything. You asked your dad, why is the sun yellow? Why is the sun orange in the evening? Why is the bird flying? Why can't it walk? Why can't I fly? The questions were innumerable, and you bugged your parents out of it. And in fact, you bugged your elder sister or elder brother and got tulped because of it also. But you still insisted on asking these questions. So, to get the juices of creativity flowing again, stay curious, bring back the curiosity. That is number one. Now, just to digress a bit, we live in an age where there are tools where we can get info at the click of a button. A few clicks and you get all the info. I mean, on the internet, the whole world is out there. It has converged into those little instruments that you have in your hand called your mobile phones, where you consume everything, right from entertainment, right from knowledging yourself, right from talking to somebody and being in connect with somebody. You're doing everything within that instrument, and you can pull out any info that you want with a few clicks on your mobile phone. Now, you are empowered. You're so empowered that you know that you have the whole world in your palm. But there's a downside to it. Just to digress a bit, when you have all this information in a few clicks, we tend to forget storing information in our brain. At least it happens with me, where I say, okay, I can find this with a search engine at any point in time. I don't need to retain it in my head. And I've slowly realized that I've gotten into the habit of, trying to put it all on the search engine, and my mind has gone blank. I mean, those days I used to remember 20 phone numbers. Right now, if I remember 2 or 3, I mean, I'm lucky. So, we are slowly beginning to miss pulling little thoughts out of our minds and, feeling happy about it. It's almost like a friend says something and you have a repartee to that. And for that repartee, you pull something out of your mind, out of your memory, and you have a comeback with your friend. You're missing all that now. It's a feeling that is prevalent hugely with me. Now, that joy of pulling answers comes from us being curious. Yes, curiosity, not by leaving it all into the search engine, but by reading. I think we have to be reading. Read anything. Read books, read fiction, read the newspaper. Read even the little piece of magazine that comes packed with your vada when you go to a chai shop. I mean, we just have to be reading, because that is something that really helps store a lot of memories, ideas, thoughts, and points of view inside our heads. Now that I've made that clear, and I've also shown you that information is available for everybody. There is democracy of information. What you have, all of you have the same access to the same kind of information. Then, if I were to be creative and make a difference, how do I make a difference? Because what you have is the same thing that I have. Now, how do I get creative? That is where association of ideas come in, where you pull in one idea, one thought from somewhere, another thought from somewhere, and you bring them together and throw out something new into the world, which makes you say, hey, I hadn't thought of that before. And we Indians are particularly good at that. You might be familiar with the phrase called jugaad. Like the CD on the cycle was an example of jugaad. Similarly, there is this juice shop in Salem where the mixer is connected to a bicycle. So you have the opportunity to crush your own fruit juice with the cycle. As you cycle, the static cycle, as you cycle it, it crushes the fruit in the mixer. So jugaad, again, you're not trying to, how shall we say, bring huge earth-shattering technology into it, but using a simple cycle, a little thought here that brings those two things together to have fresh fruit juice. Now, how do we bring those two disparate ideas together? What is association of ideas and how do you do it? Well, when I was a callow youth, when I was starting off in my industry, my mentor had this concept called the 40 boxes. Now, what is 40 boxes? Just take an A4 sheet and make 40 boxes in that A4 sheet. Now, those 40 boxes, what are you going to do with them? Take a pen and start putting down ideas in each box. So, each box you put an idea, and what happens is you will try to fill all the 40 boxes. Let me tell you, it is difficult at first, but when you start jotting down ideas, you put the most obvious ideas out there immediately. You articulated them. What happens is usually the most obvious ideas strike you and you just keep mulling over them and you don't progress further. So it's a good idea to just drop it into the boxes. You just write them down so that the most obvious ideas are already done away with, and then you slowly start moving into more complex, more interesting and more unique association of ideas, trying to bring things together. And slowly you realize that you have become more creative with your thought, because your desperation is to fill those 40 boxes. Let me tell you, when I started off, I struggled a whole day to finish around 17 boxes, and then slowly I started practicing, and I could lead up to 35 boxes. But when I go into that, I realize that by the time I reach the 35th box, I have some real sharp ideas to show the world, which will make my audience say, wow, I didn't think of that before. So that is the kind of practice I am talking of. Now, I would like to illustrate how you do these 40 boxes with an example. I've talked about the CD on the cycle. Now, what is the problem? My problem with the cycle is, if I'm riding at night, people behind me do not see me, so there is a possibility somebody might crash into me. So I need to tell the world, hey, I'm a cycle moving in the dark. So my first box I'm going to write, what is the solution I have? I need a reflector. Yeah, that is the most obvious solution, but I do not have the money for a reflector, or I do not have access to a reflector right now. Okay, then next box. Okay, shall I get fluorescent pens and make marking on it? I do not have probably fluorescent pens. I do not have that to put it out there. Maybe I have a torchlight which is directed backwards, which I fix to my cycle, and people can see the torchlight, and but there are practical difficulties in the light. In that, the battery might die down, and also that people might think it's a vehicle coming towards them. So you go on, jotting down ideas, and probably the 35th idea, or maybe the 15th idea, it would have been the CD. Hey, I have a CD, it reflects light, let me put it there and see. Yes, bingo, I got the answer and I have a solution out there. So practice practice the 40 boxes and you will slowly realize that your creative bar is slowly moving up and up and up. Now, that's what I did, and I would like to illustrate how we can use this with little ideas to showcase our own creativity. Now, what you see here is the visual of a sky with funky clouds. Let's call it cloud spotting or whatever. Now, when you see the clouds, you just see clouds, but can I be more creative with it? Can I have a narrative that makes it more interesting for the audience? I have shot this sky with this funny looking clouds. Now, how do I make it a little more evocative, a little more dramatic, and a little more, bring a little more emotion into it? So, what if I caption the picture when clouds get confused where to go? So that is suddenly the clouds have a different perspective for you. It is taking you into a different dimension altogether. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I am talking about. Now, I could say when clouds get confused where to go, or I could just say clouds with a bad hair day. So the whole context now shifts into another perspective. Again, another association of ideas, another humanizing aspect of the picture itself that makes the whole thing interesting, and I've given a little story to the world to look up and chuckle. It is those little ideas where we have to begin and where we hone our skills by practicing, by staying curious and giving the world something that is nice while you feel happy within yourself. So in conclusion, my submission is that you practice to bring back the creative juices in you, get them boiling and slowly start coming out. Bring together different ideas with the practice. Stay curious and make yourself happy with the little thoughts to begin with, how you are doing it, and then you will realize that slowly you are moving easily, seamlessly into critical thinking and complex problem solving. I am Ravi Solomon. I am a writer and I enjoyed this session. Thank you for your patience and thank you for listening to me. Now go forth and be creative. Thank you very much.